this. Okay, so I'm sharing this screen. So I'm going to give this. So now anyway, so we'll start our discussion. So if you remember, if we have a quick this one. So last week, we have started our energy methods. We have seen actually. Okay. So now we have seen energy methods. Two things we have seen. One is how to obtain the buckling load or something. Okay, Rayleigh Ridge method. Many methods are there. Okay, so several things are there, but most of them you follow, right? The weak form, they use and then they get the solutions. Okay. Now another way is how to obtain equation of motion. Also we have seen. Okay, there's calculations of variations and others also we have seen actually. And finally, we have seen these energy methods. Say, okay, so getting solutions, is very simple kind of a thing compared to this original force method kind of a thing. Okay, so but if we can approximate this mode shapes, say that is a deformed shape or something, so then you can get the nicely you see the result itself. So this we have seen, and finally, I think last class we started with numerical methods. Okay. So now among these numerical methods, many are there like FEM, finite difference, there are several techniques are there. Okay. Even nowadays you see pseudo spectral method, spectral element method, many methods people are using. Now, the easiest thing and which is a classical thing was, this finite difference, which is very easy. Okay. See, now to understand finite element and others, you should have a background actually. You should have done a course and then, you can do this. But finite difference, you see, nothing is required actually. Okay, so like last class as already I have told you. So ODE or PDE say, okay. So you just convert your ordinary differential equation to difference equations, okay, which are algebraic, you see, equations kind of a thing. So you solve this equations, okay, so you will get this solution, okay. And the fundamental thing in finite difference method is Taylor series, okay. So based on Taylor series, say, okay, so you obtain all the the expressions for first derivative, second derivative, all those things you can derive, okay, by truncating some higher order terms and something like that, you can do it. And then like last class I have told you, there are several methods are there to find out derivative, forward method, then this backward difference is there, and then you have this central difference also. Okay, so how you are using this points actual, and you can go even for a higher order also. Okay, so how to compute, you see, the derivative. So like for example, if you have a function like this, so you have points like here, say, okay. So several points are there. Let us, I want to compute the derivative at this place. Okay, so like you see, the backward derivative we have seen, the forward is there. Now to compute this derivative, if I use this point as well as this point, we'll get central difference. Now to compute derivative, I can as well use this far away points also. Then instead f of x minus h, f of x minus 2h also one can use actually. So that way also we can do. So there are variety ways are there, but generally the central difference is the one which is widely preferred, you see, because if you increase your grid size and maybe this one, you can get some convergence kind of a thing. Okay, I think last class I already wrote, right, all the expressions we have seen. If you have any function, say, so f of say I plus h minus f of I minus h by 2h actually. So this is your central difference operative. Okay, similarly we have written for higher order also, all the higher order derivatives also. So we have written in our last class. It's straightforward actually. Okay, so even del cube also we can do, then even del to the power of 4 fy also. Okay, but only thing is when you go for higher orders, say, what happens is more information is required, or more number of the points are required actually. See, like for example, to compute the first derivative, so you should know only I plus h and I minus h. So knowing the functional information at these 2 points, you can compute the first derivative. But when it goes to the the second derivative, say, so now for second derivative you should know I plus h. You also should know I. then I minus h comes actually. Now when you're going for the third derivative, say, you should know I plus 2h also, then I plus h, then I minus h, then I plus 2h also. So as the order of the derivative increases, so you should know more the information. See, like for computing first derivative, say, so this information is sufficient, but if you want to compute a second derivative also, these three is sufficient. But if you want to compute third derivative, say, okay, so these points are required. Now fourth derivative, fifth derivative, say, more number of the points are required, you see, to compute these derivatives. Okay, so these are all standard equations are there. You can get it in any textbook on finite difference. You can derive yourself also. Only thing you should know is Taylor series. So if you know Taylor series, if finite difference is you followed, right, nothing actual. It's just a straightforward kind of a thing. Okay. So now coming to our buckling problems. So last class, I think we already wrote this one. So you are having a PP kind of a thing. Okay. So this is buckling loads. So now here, as already I told you, there are two ways are there. One is to find out buckling load. You can write fourth order ODE also. Okay. So fourth order ODE means in terms of load. So you followed it. This is the thing. Then you can start with the second order ODE also. But only thing is second order ODE means bending moment diagram or bending moment should be known actually. Okay, both the ways you will get almost the same answer. That's what you see we have seen previously in analytical solutions. Now when you try to calculate for buckling loads, okay, now which one you prefer, the fourth order ODE or the second order ODE? Which one is more easy for you now?
Second order.
Now why second order?
We need less grid points.
We need less grid points. Okay, that is perfectly fine. So that is for fourth order means what happens. See, fourth order OD, as already I told, if you want to compute fourth derivatives, you should know all this information actually. I plus 2h, I plus h, I minus h, I plus 2h. So more number, although you may divide your beam into one two pieces, say, but still you require 4 points actually. So this is a problematic with fourth order OD. So you have to do some what we can do, something like imaginary things you have to use, and then you have to solve. Second order is very easy because you should know only the information at I plus h, then I minus h only. So that is the main advantage. Okay, so now we start with second order. I will also show for fourth order also what is the difficulty involved there. So now, like last class I already told you, so del square your the second derivative, say, you replace with the difference equations. So y of 1 I minus h, so 2 times yi plus y of I minus h by using h square kind of a thing. So substitute in this expression, say, we already wrote I think last class. So y of I plus h minus 2 times yi plus y of I minus h plus ph square, say, okay, by ei into yi. Okay, so where h is your discretization. So like how many points you are going to discretize or something like that actually. Okay, so now let us start with the first approximation actually. Okay, now that is you are dividing your this column into two pieces actually. So this is the first one. You followed. So this is how you see we try to solve this. So n is equal to 2. So which means your column, say, has been divided it into two piece kind of a thing. So this is I is equal to 0, then I is equal to 1, then I is equal to 2. So these are the grid points actually. So we have divided it into two pieces. So there are basically three nodes are there. So this is your y1, this is y0, and this is y2 kind of a thing. So now I is equal to, so now if I try to write the final difference equation, say, at I is equal to 1, so we can write as y2 minus 2 times y1, just substitute here actually, okay, plus y0, say, plus p l square by 4 ei into y1 is equal to 0, because our h is nothing but l by 2 kind of a thing. Okay, so now this is our final difference equation. Now at I is equal to 0, what happens? Now see whether you have to write at y is equal to 0 and I is equal to 2. Now
They're zero, sir.
They are already zero, so whether you have to write your equation of equilibrium at these difference equations are not required actually. Okay, so because already you know the solution, like y0 and y2, say they are supposed to be, you know, zeros kind of a thing. Suppose if the ends are fixed, what is that you try to do? See, the end is fixed. Now we are doing for simply supported. Suppose if the end is fixed, say, then what will be the boundary condition? See, for fixed ends, what's the boundary condition?
So displacement will be again zero.
Now display, so y0, y2 is 0. Then because the end is fixed, slope also has to be 0. That's a dy by dx or something. But now in finite differences, how do you write that expression? So now you have to use your first this one. Okay, so this delta f I say, so we write you know, your first derivative. Okay, though this also is equal to 0 kind of a thing we write actually. So which means, you know, f of you followed it, the previous one minus the next one divided by 2h. So this has to be equated to 0. So you will get a relationship actual among these y1, y2s, y3s and y4s kind of a thing, and then you write your solution actual. Okay, because simply supported means, you know, slope anyway is not 0, so only the deflection is 0 kind of a thing. So now substitute, say, in this you know, the expression, so it's a straightforward. So you have only y1 pl square, say, by 4ei minus 2 is equal to 0 kind of a thing you get actual. Okay, so now just 1 second. Hello, you are at the main gate, eh? Okay. Yes, yes. Okay, okay, thank you. So just 1 second. So now you see, so you solve this expression. So no, for non-trivial solutions, you say, okay. So your PL square by, you know, the 4EI minus 2 will be equal to 0. So which means, you know, your buckling load, say. So PCR is, you know, 8EI by, you see, L square kind of a thing. So this is your critical buckling load, you know, for obtaining for n is equal to 2 itself. Okay. So now if you compare with exact solution, say, okay. So now our exact solution we already know for Euler buckling load pi square, you know, EI by L square. Just 1 second. హలో, అమ్మకి ఫోన్ తొందరగా. హలో హలో, వాడు బ్లూ డాట్ కొరియర్ వాడు వచ్చినట్టు తెచ్చుకో, వాడు వేసి మెయిన్ గేట్ నుంచి ఏదో వచ్చిందిలే, అమెజాన్ తెచ్చుకో, నా క్లాస్ ఉంది, నేను క్లాస్లో ఉన్నాను, ఉంటా. తొందరగా అవుట్ గేట్ దగ్గరికి. సరే. Hello. So now, so this is the exact value, pi square EI by L square kind of a thing. So you know this exact value is, you see, 9.87 EI by L square. Okay. So now if you compare this with this, so the error is almost 19% error we have actual. Okay. So now if you want to decrease the error, so the only way is you followed, right? You have to discretize into more number of points itself. So now let us do this second the approximation kind of a thing. So that you take n is equal to 2. Now what happens? 3. Sorry, n is equal to 2 we have already done. So n is equal to 3. Okay. So which means your h is equal to L by 3 kind of a thing. So now what happens actually. So this is our the column. So now we have divided it into two pieces actually. Okay. So L by 3 L by 3 then L by 3 kind of a thing. So now we have I is equal to 0, then 1, then 2, then we have this. These are the number of points actually. Okay. So now y1 is the deflection here, then y2 is the deflection here. So now if you write our final difference equations, I is equal to 1. So just substitution only. So you have y2 minus 2 times y1 plus y0 plus this lambda times y1 is equal to 0. Now what I is equal to 2 say. Okay, the second point also we can write. So this becomes y3 minus 2 times y2 plus y1 plus lambda times y2 is equal to 0. So your lambda anyway is that PL square by 9 is EI kind of a thing. Okay. So now if you substitute, so now you solve these two, so now we already know that y0 and you followed, right? y3, both of them are zeros kind of a thing because of the boundary condition. So now so we have two equations will be there, or two unknowns will be there. So lambda minus 2 into y1 plus y2 is equal to 0. Then y1 plus lambda minus 2 into y2 say is equal to 0 you will get. So now so if you write it in a matrix format, so lambda minus 2 1 1 lambda minus 2. So this determinant of the matrix say this has to be 0 for non-trivial the solutions. Okay. So now anyway lambda so you solve this one, say the roots will be, the first root is lambda is equal to 1 and lambda 2 will be 3. So now your buckling loads say, okay, this will be 9 EI by L square, that is for lambda is equal to 1. Other one say is 27 EI by L square kind of a thing you have, and of course the lowest one is 9 EI by L square actual. Okay. So now you can see here. Now what was the first value we got here? So when you took 8 EI by L square was there, but exact value was 9.87 EI by L square kind of a thing. So 19% was there. Now when you increase your number of the elements or number of the grid points say, so your buckling load turns out to be 9 EI by L square, and exact value is 9.87 by L square. So if you try to compute the error say, so this turns out to be 9% error actual. So now from 19% error we have come to 9% kind of a thing. Now you can do this third approximation also, like you increase the number of grid points say. Okay. So now we take n is equal to 4 kind of a thing. Okay. So now I say 4 points are there. So this is your thing. So this here you are having 1, then 2, then 3, then you see. So this is I is equal to 0, then I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, then I is equal to 3, then I is equal to 4 actual. So we have divided this into 4 pieces. So H is basically L by 4 kind of a thing. So now you write our equations at I is equal to 1. Now what happens actual. Okay. So y2 minus 2 times y1. So it's just a substitution actually. y0 plus PL square say by 16 times EI into y1 is equal to 0. And of course I is equal to 2 also we can write our equation here. So that is y3 minus 2 times y2 say, okay, plus y1 plus PL square by 16 times EI into y1 y2 is equal to 0. So you get this expression. Now here whether I is equal to 3 we have to write the equation or not required here. Now see here why, whether it is required to write the equation.
It's symmetric, right? So I think we don't have to write.
So what is meant by symmetry? What does it mean by symmetry?
So I equal to 3 and I equal to 1, the solution would be same.
So which means your y3 should be same as y1 itself actually. Okay, so if you write also, you will get same duplicate equation only you will get actually. Okay, automatically it has to be eliminated only. Okay, so because y3 is equal to y1, and anyway you see y0 and y4 say they are all zeros actually because of the support conditions. Okay, so now you substitute. So now finally you see you will get two equations only. Okay, plus y2 is equal to 0 kind of a thing. Then y1 say into 2 plus y2 into lambda minus 2 is equal to 0. So two equations we get here. So once again you see you solve our problem, and then you get these roots and something. So lambda smallest root becomes a 0.59 kind of a thing. And so finally say the buckling load will be for in this case will be PCR is equal to 9.4 times EI by L square actually. And now the error has come down to 5% actually. You followed. So 19% was error, then 9% it came, then the 5% error kind of a thing. So now if you want to decrease the error say, so now you increase the number of the grid points itself. So now if you increase this number of grid points say, okay, so automatically your error comes to 0 kind of a thing. So you can try like how many number of grid points so increase the number of grid points. Okay, so you can try, so increase the number of grid points say, and then you can find out actually how this error decreases kind of a thing. You can just do it by yourself actually, or maybe you can write a small MATLAB code. So it's very very easy, just the difference equations so you have to just key that f of I, y of I plus h and all those things, and if you give this ones automatically you should be able to solve this equation actually. Okay, so try to do this in MATLAB, very very easy kind of a thing. Okay, so you can write a code, and then you can check the numerically you see the convergence and other issues. So this will be better understood by writing a computerized the code itself. Okay, and now I will just give you like higher order derivatives actually. If you do the other way, this is a very like it's little bit complex actually. Okay, in the finite difference. So now higher order derivatives is say like if you solve with fourth order equation, okay, p by y double dash say is equal to 0 instead of a second order equation actually. Okay, so now this how do we solve kind of a thing. So now let us take a this little bit make it more complex. So we will make one end fixed kind of a thing, other end is roller actually. Okay, so p, then this is p. So now you see we want to find out the buckling load for this column which is fixed, other end is hinged actually at the other cases. Okay, so now the first step if you try to write the boundary conditions, we all know. So y of 0, so if you take this as your origin, so this is y and this is x kind of a thing say, and L is the length of the column. Now, so the boundary condition, because it's a fixed end actually, so slope and deflection are 0, and other end y of L. And now because you are starting with a fourth order ODE. Okay, suppose if you have started with a second order ODE say, so to get the second order ODE, because on the right hand side you have a bending moment already, bending moment, shear force are already embedded actually in the second order ODE, because you have to do that, then only you can derive this equation of equilibrium itself. But when you are solving in the fourth order ODE, on the right hand side you have only load actually. Okay, should be written on the right hand side. But now because it's a fourth order ODEs, you have to write the boundary conditions for even the higher derivatives itself. So now at this end say, so your bending moment, that means your second derivative is also equal to 0 actually. So this also extra thing which you have to include when you are solving the fourth order equations. So now you write the finite difference equation. Yeah. So when you try to write the finite difference equation, say, well, now the problem is you have to write the difference equation for fourth order, then you have this the second order equation actually. Okay, so these two has to be written up. So now I am writing you can derive yourself. So now the final difference equations, I plus 2h minus is 4 times y I plus h minus plus is 6 times y I y minus 4 times is y I minus h kind of a thing, plus y I minus is 2h. So this is the fourth order expression. Okay, So plus, we have this ph square say by ei. And now for the second order equation, okay, that second derivative, we have y of I plus h minus is 2 times yi plus y of say, I minus h is equal to 0. So this is our big the expression. So this the expression for fourth order derivative, and this one holds for the second order derivative. Okay, so now so this is a big expression. As already I told you, if you want a fourth order derivative to compute at a point, so you require more number of points. So you require information on I plus h. You also require information on 2 plus h, I minus 2h, I minus h. All this information is required to compute a fourth order derivative. Now for second order derivatives, you should know only information in I plus h and I minus h actual. So this itself is sufficient. So the problem is, in finite difference is, if you have, more higher derivatives are there, say, then more number of points are, you require more information actually to write your finite difference equation. Okay. And now let us just do this approximation, the first approximation, say. Okay. So now let us say n is equal to 2 pieces actually. So we are dividing this into, you see, 2 kind of a thing, which means your h is L by 2 kind of a thing. Okay. So now so if you write, so now here you see the problem is so if it's just substitute, say, okay, like you see we write you followed it. So this is our fixed end the kind of a thing. So this is how the column is going to buckle. So this is a buckling mode shape kind of a thing. Now here we have a problem. Okay. So if it, so this is your 1. So I is equal to 1, this is I is equal to 0, and here it is I is equal to 2 kind of a thing actually. Okay, so now if you want to write equation at I is equal to 1, now what is the problem you see here? What's the problem here? If I is equal to 1, what's the problem here?
We don't have 2 points above
Yes.
above and below.
So now I plus h I minus h that means y1 means y2 and y0. So this information automatically actual. But to compute its fourth derivative, so you also should know I plus 2h. That means third point also you require, and similarly say y of I minus 2h also you have to know actually. So these are problem you see when you try to solve this the higher order derivatives. So now what is the solution now? Now how do we proceed?
We need to go for second approximation.
Second approximation means?
Means for n is equals to 3.
No, n is equal to 3 also you have a problem. See, if you write, the more number of points, say, okay, so if this is your thing, so like you see, I is equal to 0 will be here, I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, I is equal to 3, and this is your fourth point actually. Okay. Now, if you want to write equation for I is equal to 1, say, still you have a problem. You understand? Now,
We
here
have to
maybe
imagine a point.
Now, see, for I is equal to 2, there is no problem actually, because for I is equal to 2, you require information for I is equal to 1, then I is equal to 0 also, and this side also 3, 4. So that is perfectly fine. But if I want to write for I is equal to 1 or I is equal to 3, say, at the end points actually, still we have a problem actually. You followed. So it is simply increasing n is equal to 3 or n is equal to 4 is not going to help you, because at the end points, not at the end point, n minus 1 point kind of a thing, still you have a problem. Now how do we solve? What is the solution? What do is like a clever trick kind of thing we do in engineering actually. So what is the trick you are going to employ here?
Interpolation.
What interpolation? How do you interpolate?
So we make an imaginary point beyond the boundary.
So you have to make an imaginary point. Okay, perfectly fine. So I have done a imaginary point here. One more imaginary point here actually. Now what I should do? Now what should be the deflection profile, or what I have to assume here? So I have to extend actually. Okay, that is a main problem. So what is that extension? How I know, like in engineering you follow, right? We all do. Civil engineering is all tricks only. Okay, some it doesn't work, so we play some type of a trick and we get the solution actually followed. So now what is that we try to do? So now you see you can do some tricks kind of a thing. So like for example, you just have a reflection kind of a thing. So you just assume one more here. So the deflection profile, say, because slope has to be 0, you can do this type of an approximation. Now similarly here also, So now these are the ends say. Okay, so you can assume you followed it something you see like this. Okay, so this is an assumption actually. So this is your the previous point, I is equal to -1, and this is I is equal to 3 kind of a thing. So we do this kind of you see the approximation. So you have to extend something imaginary, the kind of a thing. Okay, and now so if you write now our final difference equation say, but I is equal to 1, so you have y3 minus 4 times y2 plus 6 times y1 minus 4 times y0 plus y minus 1 plus you see your PL square by you see 4 times EI. Then you have y2 minus say 2 times y1 plus y0 say is equal to 0. And now I see you have to have some this one. So now you don't know how to approximate y3, and we also don't know how to approximate you see this y of -1 kind of a thing. Okay. Now as already I told you at x is equal to that I is equal to 0, we are saying that you see deflection is also 0, that is y0 is 0, and slope also is equal to 0 actually, also 0. So slope means is your first derivative. Okay. Now the first derivative, see how do you write in finite difference, and if you use central difference formula kind of a thing. So I plus h. So at this I is equal to 0 say, I plus h means 1, I minus h means I is equal to -1. So we can write as y1 minus y of -1 divided by you see your L kind of a thing, because this is we have divided 2 points, L by 2, L by 2. So we have extended actually L by 2 and L by 2 kind of a thing. So distance between these two is the h is L itself. So this is equal to 0. So which means your y1 is same as you see y of -1 actually. Okay. So from this boundary condition say we get our y1 and y minus 1. Okay. And now similarly say, now we have to find out y3 also, which we don't know. So now for this also we use this bending moment is 0. Okay, at I is equal to 2 itself actually. So if you write in terms of, so which means your second derivative actually. Okay, the second derivative is 0. So now in finite difference approach, say what's equation for second difference, we already know, right? So the second derivative say, like here we have written the second derivative, we write as y of I plus h minus 2 times yi plus y of I minus h, that is equal to 0 itself actually. So if you write at I is equal to 2 itself, say we write y3 minus 2 times you see y2 kind of a thing plus y1 divided by say, so this is h comes here, so L by 2 whole square kind of a thing is equal to 0 actually. So which means anyway y2 is equal to 0 because displacement is 0 because it's a hinged kind of a case. So which means you see your y3 say is same as minus y1 itself. So this is how we obtain these imaginary conditions here. And if you plot say, so y1 is equal to y of -1, both are same, but y3 should be minus times y1. That's why you see we have drawn like this actually. Okay, although I did this one, but you can get you can assume actually. Suppose you can draw like this also. Automatically if it doesn't satisfy the boundary conditions, then automatically you will get minus. So which means you have to reverse it actually. So, okay, so there is no need to assume anything. Automatically your finite difference equation combined with the boundary condition will give you the exact this imaginary what's the displacement at this imaginary points. Okay. So this is how you see we get this higher order thing. So now you substitute. So y3 is minus of y1 and y1 is minus of y1. So all the terms here. So finally everything boils down to y1 because y2 is anyway 0 itself. Okay. So finally we write as y1. So 6 minus actually. So PL square by 2 times EI is equal to 0. Okay. So now you see, so which means your critical buckling load say is you see 12 EI by L square. Okay. And now what is the exact value for column with one end fixed, one end hinged? Yeah. Now, like already we know the solution. So if you remember, so 20.2 EI say by L square. So this is exact solution. Okay. So these which we got from the finite difference approach. So the error if you try to compute is almost you see 41% actually the error is. You follow? That's a too much error, but anyway, we have approximated only with the first point. Now here the one more important thing I just wanted to point out. See now these problems you can solve with a second order ODE, or you can solve with a fourth order ODE actually. Okay. Now suppose if you take n is equal to 2 say, okay, and you same problem you solve with a second order ODE, you solve with a fourth order ODE. Okay. Now you just both the answers will be same or different. See what's your guess? So you start with the y
Different.
double dash with different. Now why they will be different? No.
Because y double dash is also an approximation.
Yes, in the fourth order.
One
Now
case.
now which is better? Second is better or fourth is better? Which will give you less error? No.
Second order.
Why?
Because the bending moment is exact in the second order.
In the second order, so obviously, so you can verify yourself, okay, by writing a small MATLAB you follow, right? You can see if you want to have same error, say 20% error, you want to have the problem. If you solve with a fourth order, maybe you may have to go for n is equal to 3 or n is equal to 4. But in a second order, say maybe n is equal to 2 itself, may give you the same error as n is equal to 4 in fourth order ODE. So this also you follow, right? It happens actually. Okay. Now the same problems. If you take n is equal to 3, okay, that is three things are there. So now so this is your buckling. You see the mode shape here. Okay. Now we are dividing it into more number of points. So this is your y1 and this is your y2 and this is your y3. Okay. And now if you want to write our final difference equation, you still, whether n is equal to 3 or n is equal to 4 or n is equal to 5, still you have to have this boundary condition. You should know y of -1 and you also should know y of 4 itself actually. And that you will get automatically from our the boundary conditions. Okay, by satisfying the bending moment and this one, so you will get the boundary condition. And this boundary condition will be same as the previous problem itself. You can verify. So which means your y1 say. Okay, so whatever we wrote, so this is going to remain same. Okay, so where is that? Y1, these two are going to remain same actual. Only thing is, instead of now y3 say, we write as you followed, right, y4 or something like that. We try to write in this expression because the grid points are different. So now this problem say, if you solve for n is equal to 3 itself, so you will get the equations here. And finally say, I am just writing the solution here. So the lowest root, okay. Yeah, so the lowest you followed, right? The root becomes here is so 1.78 kind of a thing you have, and finally say the buckling load will be 16.1 EI by L square kind of a thing you have actual. Okay, and if you try to compare, say, so error becomes 20% kind of a thing, but still 20% is too high. Okay, so now you can solve by n is equal to 4, then n is equal to 5, then n is equal to 6, and then you can plot actual how error decreases kind of a thing. And in final difference approach, say most how the error is going to decrease, like yeah. See, for n is equal to 2, error was 40%. Now when n is equal to 3, error became 20% kind of a thing for a fourth order ODE. But now in the second order ODE, say, if you see this, where is that we wrote? For a second order ODE, we have seen like when you are increasing the order R, H actually. See, like L by 2 to L by 3. Now how the error is decreasing? See, here it was a 5%. L by 4 was 5%. I think L by 3 was 9% kind of a thing we had, and the original was 19% actual. That is L by 2. Okay, so when it was L by 2, 19%. When it was L by 3, say, the error was the 9% kind of a thing. Yes, so L by 3 means is 9% here, and L by 4 say it is, I think 5% or something we have got actual. Okay, so now you can see here how this error is decreasing for second order, and you can also see how it is decreasing for the fourth order. So generally because for second order derivatives we have neglected the higher order terms. Some thing is your error say they say it is a proportional to your h square kind of a thing. That is a spacing or something like that. People write also. Okay, so this also one can check how the error is propagating for second order and for the fourth order ODEs. So this way you can try. the best way to understand finite difference is you write it in a small MATLAB code, say, okay. So if you can write an automated code, like the input can be then n. Suppose if we give 5, say, automatically you should be able to give you the solution kind of a thing actually, okay. So this way you can try and you can solve many problems, and sometimes you can maybe the points also, say, generally we take equally spaced in finite difference. Okay, this is the best actual way to complicate ourselves kind of a thing, but sometimes you can do unequally spaced also. Okay, so this also you followed, right? One can use it in practice actual. Okay, so where do you require unequally spaced points? Like I'm computing the derivative, but I plus h other than one is not I minus h, it is something else actual. Okay, now where do you require unequally spaced points? Is it required by, first of all?
It may be required, sir, if we already know a particular boundary condition in between. Like if we know the
Okay.
deflection at a in between point.
Okay, fantastic. Or what does it mean, the boundary condition? Like see, like for example, if you have a column like this, okay, and let us say it is like this kind of a boundary condition. You remember? So like a spring, or maybe something else can be there followed. So or maybe this type of cases, maybe some different cases are there. So like these are not unequally spaced. You may be interested in putting a grid point here. So let us say this is some L by 4 kind of a thing, whereas this is L by 3, like that. It goes, say. Then sometimes you see this type of unequally spacing may help. And what is the other case also, like if you are having a stepped column, say, like already we solved, like this type of a columns, and then suddenly you see your things are increasing kind of. Let us say this is very very small kind of a thing, whereas they are very very large, say. So then your grids points can be unequally spaced also. Sometimes generally we don't encourage unequally spaced. Equally spaced only is the best actually, because the mathematical complexity and other things will be perfectly fine, but unequally spaced means sometimes these type of problems you may require, and they may give better result actually, or less error instead of calling as a better result. Okay, now so they give less error when compared to this equally spaced for this type of problems, like when your ei is varying unequally. Okay, it is not like a symmetry kind of a thing, or the boundary conditions like some of you pointed out, right? Maybe sudden something has come, they are all unequal, say. So then you require this unequally spaced points, and they may give you better result actually. Okay, like equally spaced means you may have like n is equal to 6 is giving a error of 1% error, say. With unequally spaced, with n is equal to 4 points itself, you may be able to get a 1% error also. Okay, not all the problems, only these type of problems, like this kind of a thing or this kind of a thing you can try, okay, yourself. So this way you can solve many problems by this finite difference method itself. Okay, now among the numerical methods, you can solve this by FEM. Then other methods also are there. Okay, so that maybe we will see after some point of time. Okay, yeah. So now so these just because a finite difference is very easy and straightforward. So we discussed this one. So now let us see this beam columns actually. Okay, already we have seen previously, but just some important things are there. Okay, the buckling. This is straightforward. Okay, there is nothing different here. So as already we told, right? So you are having a beam, and which is a beam column kind of a thing, PP kind of a thing, and you have we have done long back itself, like what is that at wind pressure we discussed it previously. Initially bent, and then what is that initially bent column, then eccentricity, we have said all of them are more or less similar kind of a thing. So now we see, let us see how to, what are the important steps actually. Okay, so you have a problem like this. This is a classical the beam column. Now how do we solve what is the buckling load for these type of columns? So you can, to start with, say, you can start with a fourth order ODE also. Both are same, or you can start with second order also. Okay. So which one, which is more easier? How do we represent this? Suppose fourth order ODE, say, how do you write this problem in a fourth order ODE? See, these are concentrated load actually. Okay, so if you write a fourth order ODE, that is yi for this one. So right hand side you have to write load actually, which is in terms of q of x kind of a thing. Now when you have a concentrated load, so how do you represent? Yeah. See, how do you represent concentrated loads?
Using step function.
So step is a, what is a step function? Step function is like this. We followed. So 0 means this way, but concentrated load is not step function, right? Maybe step function can be used for some UDL. Some, suppose some load is acting like this, say on the your what is that on the beam. Let us say the load is like this actually, UDL kind of a thing, you see, then you can represent in terms of step function. But concentrated loads, how do we represent?
Dirac delta function.
No, direct, excellent, you see. So we write in terms of, we followed, right, q. So here say q delta 2. So because this function is acting at L by 2. Okay. And what's the property of direct delta function? When x is equal to L by 2, what happens? Now what's the value of direct delta function?
1 at that point.
Be careful. Now what's the definition of direct delta at x is equal to L by 2? It is not 1. What is the value? What is the value of direct delta function? It is infinity. You followed, right? When x is not equal to L by 2, say, what's the value? It is 0 actually. Okay.
0.
But the what? 0. But what's the property of direct delta? When you integrate this direct delta function, what is the value? It is equal to 1. So area under the direct delta function is 1. Not the direct delta function is undefined actually. You followed. At x is equal to L by 2. It is infinity itself. So this please be careful actually. Okay. And what's the unit of direct delta function? Now what's the unit here? Delta x minus L by 2. Tell me, what's the unit of this direct delta function? Now we are writing in this is space. So the units will be So it's very easy. See, now your fourth order ODE is whatever you write. Now what will be on the right hand side? Load actually. What is this load here? When I write q of x, we write as Newton per meter kind of a thing actually. Followed. Now when you write concentrated load, say q, its units is in terms of Newton. So this you can just this one. So the units of direct delta function is you followed, right? Newton per meter you have to get. So this becomes per meter actually. So this is how the units. So when you write in terms of impulses, like in your structural dynamics, you would have done. So delta of t, some 0 or whatever. So this units will be per second actually. That is how you remember, right? The force is converted into a impulse kind of a thing. So if you have a time force, say, how do you convert into impulse? You just multiply by the direct delta function. So this becomes Newton per second, which anyway you followed it. It comes to mass into velocity kind of thing you have. So now in space also, if you want to write, you have to write in terms of like this actual. Okay. So you can solve. So this beam columns you can solve, but fourth order ODE for concentrated load. But the only problem is your right hand side will be having direct delta, and you should know actually, okay, how to handle this direct delta function. Then you can differentiate, you can derive, you followed it yourself itself. But now if you feel that it is very difficult for you, and the fourth order ODE and all direct delta I don't know or something like that, so you start with second order itself. So second order is much more easy because already you know the bending moment diagram. So bending moment at any portion in the beams, if you take any section, you can write easily q by 2 you have. So qx by 2 plus p times y kind of a thing. So this is a bending moment. Like if you take any section, say, okay. So if you try to write the bending, so q by 2 you have here. So this is easy second order ODE, but if you want, you can write the fourth order also. So your EI d square y say by dx square is equal to or plus py say, okay. Now plus py is equal to minus say qx by 2 kind of a thing we write. And finally, if you write a nice d square y by dx square plus k square y is equal to minus qx by 2 ei, where k is k square is p by ei. So this is our solution. So already we have solved this inhomogeneous thing. So y is equal to a sine kx plus b cos kx kind of a thing minus qx by 2p kind of a thing you have. So a and b are the constant. So the boundary conditions here, because simply supported at x is equal to 0, and of course at x is equal to L also, okay. Or you can use the boundary conditions here, so which means finally your b turns out to be 0 and slope is also 0, you can write. So dy by dx at x is equal to L by 2, and under the load itself this is also equal to 0. So finally you can find out a and b. So your y say is q by 2 times pk sine kx by cos kl by 2 minus kx kind of thing. So this is our final solution, okay. So we'll stop here. So next class we will continue our discussion, okay. So, fine. Hello. Sir. Yes.